Hey, it's Michelle Murish from the Unquiet Classroom. Today we're going to talk about how to actually get things done as a teacher within your contract hours or close. No marathon grading, no working till 7, and no working on the weekends. Let's go. Number 1. First, let's just dispel the myth of catching up. There's always more you could be doing, but that doesn't mean it needs to be done now by you. The key is not to do everything, but to do the right things at the right time. And yes, some days are busier than others, but most weeks, you can get most of the stuff done within your workday with maybe an hour before or an hour after school, twice a week. So let's break down the week into a rhythm, not a rigid schedule, but more of a flow. Here's what I recommend, and here's what's worked for me. All right, first up, Monday. Monday is the day I prioritize and I plan. You need to make sure you check your calendar. What is coming up this week? You need to know if there's any IEP meetings, if there's any observations coming your way, if there's a fire drill, an assembly, an early out. Any of those things, make sure you check that on Monday. You're going to identify your 3 top priorities, and I recommend prioritizing by importance to you, not necessarily urgency. There's always something that needs to be done right now for the thing that's just about to happen. But we can't live like that. That would be super stressful. Instead, look at the week and pick the 3 things that are most important to you, that you really want them to go well. And those are your priorities. My last, and it may be controversial, I don't prep for the whole entire week. I prep every 2 days, like copies, cutting, gluing, all that stuff. I personally think prepping for the whole week is a trap because I don't know what's going to happen. I barely know what's going to happen today. But in 3 days and 4 days, by Friday, things could be totally different. I had a week where all my kids were out with the flu. I had like half a class. So a project that I had prepped ahead of time, I ended up postponing because I wanted everybody to be able to do it at the same time. So I prep 2 days at a time when it comes to physical materials. And it saved me a lot of time in the long run. Tuesday, I do my data and my grading. So some of this is how you set up your classroom culture in the first place, but my students know that they turn in papers Monday through Friday, and then they will get them back the next week. So I don't have a very quick turnaround for things that don't need to be. If it's something that's really important, obviously I do it in the moment, but most things in reality aren't. So that's how I set my system works for me. To me, this task entails a couple things. One, I actually need to knock out the grading. I need to go through, score everything. Then I need to look at the data. I need to put it into the gradebook. I need to give student feedback, make sure they can access the student feedback, whether that's handing out papers or entering it into Google Classroom. And then I have to look for trends. Then I have to look at the data and see what happens. Maybe you're at a PLC school and you're going to pair up with a partner teacher. Maybe you're solo like I am this year, just going by yourself. In that case, I look through the data and I see what's going on with my students. Important note, when looking at the data, always ask yourself, what is the data telling me? Don't just look at what is the score or how am I doing, because it's not about me. I mean, yes, I'm the teacher, and yes, it reflects whether the students have learned the information or not, but data is my teaching partner. I'm asking data, what can you tell me this week? And then I just take the information, I learn from it, and I grow, and I go. Now, for those teachers who are drowning in grading, I know it's not always possible. I mean, my advice is to stop handing out so much work that needs to be graded. But I know that's not always possible. There's some subjects that are just more grading heavy. In math, a lot of things you have to grade because you need to make sure the students are getting the tiny little steps or else they'll miss the big ones. In ELA, students write these massive papers and you have to read all those massive papers and give out actual meaningful feedback. So I know you can't always just get rid of it. But what I recommend is setting a timer. I set a timer and I just plow through. When the timer goes off, I stop, take a break, do something else. Then I come back. I set another timer for whatever is a sustainable amount for you. It could be 20 minutes, it could be an hour. I don't know, whatever your attention span is really. But set a timer and work through your grading that way because the brain breaks really do help. It also helps for me not to get a little jaded when I'm grading papers. If I see the same mistake over and over and over again that I swore I taught perfectly, the 5th paper gets a little bit harder of a critique than maybe the first paper did. So I take a break. Wednesdays are for meeting and management. So we don't always get to choose when we have our staff development, our PLCs, our IEPs, but as much as I can, I schedule the work I have to do to prepare for those meetings on Wednesdays. The meetings will be when the meetings will be. The gods of meetings will decide that. But I will fill out my reports. I will gather my evidence. I will collect data. I will do anything that I need to be doing on Wednesday. It is also a day that I do a little classroom management check. So I make sure that my behavior logs are up to date. I make sure that I have followed through with any systems I have set in place. If I need to reset a system, restock a system, Wednesdays I do that. 4, Thursday. Thursday is the day that I focus on lesson polish and small groups. So lesson polish, I make sure that Friday's lesson, good to go. And then I also start pulling ideas for next week. I gather up my teacher manuals, I set them, look at my scope and sequence, and I pull out so that Monday when I actually go to prepare and prep, I'm ready. The second part of that is small groups. Now, I try to pull small groups all throughout the week, but Thursdays is my dedicated small group day. I train my students so that they know that we are doing small group intensive on Thursday. Thursday for me is really kind of a smooth it out day. I try to catch any of those kids in those small groups have missed things all week. I make sure my lessons are nice and ready and set, and I have all the things I need so I won't be stressed later. Friday. Friday is the day that I finish everything up and I reflect. So Friday is a pretty light work day for me because it's Friday. But I try to finish things up and then reflect on how the week went. So by finishing things up, I mean that if I didn't finish grading everything, I grade everything. I enter everything into the log. I return any parent emails. I do everything I can to sort of wipe the slate clean so that next week there isn't that much left to do. However, we know how teaching is. Some of the things when I'm reflecting, I put to next week. This is what I'm going to do better next week. I'm going to rearrange the groups this way next week. I also pick the day that I am going to stay late. All right, a hot topic, I know. My contract hours, where I am currently at, are from 7:45 to 2:20, which in my opinion is amazing. And during that time, I am working the whole time with an exception of 15 minutes before school, one 15-minute recess if I don't have duty, 30-minute lunch, and then a 12-minute after school. Now, in no universe can I possibly prepare for everything I need in that span of time. Where I am, I used to be in secondary, now I'm in elementary. I do not have a daily prep. I have twice weekly prep. And again, that is not enough time. So I have elected to stay 2 hours at school extra. You do what feels right for you. I typically go an hour early, 45 minutes, on Monday so I can do all my prep beforehand. Second, I stay Wednesday an hour late. I have found those days work for me. Do what fits into yours. And because I'm not trying to fit this in during the school days, I have found that there are less interruptions. Students don't come knocking on my door. Admin hasn't scheduled me for anything. I can sort of hide in my classroom and just work uninterrupted. So I can really knock out a lot in that span of time. Sometimes I need both days, sometimes I don't. Some weeks I don't need to go in early because I have everything covered. It's very flexible and I keep it very flexible on purpose. I do not make any commitments during my magic hours. Now, I am a very strong proponent. I never work on the weekends and I don't take grading home with me. I am one of those diehard that if admin, thought it was important, they would pay me for it. I am doing the best I can for my students, but honestly, the best teacher I can be is a teacher who is well rested and happy and balanced. So I don't do anything at home. At home, I'm off work. I live my home life. Okay, I have a family. I have children. I do the things that I want to do during my time off. Regardless of what you might think, there are no prizes for working overtime. So try and keep it so that you are happy with both your work life and your home life. You will burn out if you are working all the time. Now, if you're trying to make things a little easier, in my shop, I do have a weekly teacher planner that helps you plan a week. It also helps you prioritize your tasks and then keep track to make sure you're on track to meet your goals. So go ahead and click the link in my bio and grab that from my shop. If you found this helpful, go ahead and hit like or subscribe so you can see some of my videos in the future. Again, I'm Michelle from the Unquiet Classroom. Bye.